Welcome, Commissioner Kubilius, who is the EU's first defense commissioner. I guess before that, there was never really thought that this would be a hugely important and needed role, because that really wasn't the main function of the European Commission. You've had a very, very busy year as the first commissioner. Maybe I'd start seeing, as we are at this sort of premier transatlantic event here in Munich. What's your assessment? You've been talking to Marco Rubio and to other Americans. What's your assessment of the state of the transatlantic relationship? And do you have a sense among the Americans that they may have gone too far, that they broke something fundamental with Greenland, with disparaging the Afghan contribution of the Allies, that something irrevocable has changed in that relationship?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me. And second, definitely transatlantic relations, historically are very important, crucial, and in my view, they will stay, important as they were till now. Of course, we need to separate, in some way, different administrations, different styles, sometimes unpredictable statements, like we have seen recently. We are adapting to that, whatever. Mark Rutte, Alex Stubb, Giorgia Meloni, they know how to personally communicate with President Trump, and in some way, that is quite successful in mitigating some kind of unexpected statements. But basically, we also need to see strategic shifts in American geopolitical thinking. They need, what they are declared very clearly, that they need to shift more of their attention and resources to mitigate Chinese rising military power, to Indo-Pacific, to Western Hemisphere. And we need to accept that rationally. And, because maybe we still need to look into ourselves and to have a proper understanding of the content of transatlantic relations. Since, end of Second World War, in some way, we took as a granted that transatlantic relations mean that Americans will keep, presence in the European continent, and they will guarantee our security with their resources. And we can spend our money somewhere, what we call peace dividend, enjoying, such a situation that we can diminish our defense spending. Now, those times are over, and but it does not mean that transatlantic relations are changing if we are starting to understand that we need to invest much more into our defense capabilities and into our responsibility on European defense.
I guess the fundamental question, though, is that what you're saying sort of makes strategic sense, that the Americans, they're shifting their focus to Asia, which since Obama or before has been something Americans have been talking about. So that's a rational thing. But you're dealing with a country which has threatened to annex Greenland, which is part of a NATO member, has talked openly about taking over Canada, another NATO member. So this is a very unreliable partner. I guess you can even use the word partner. And the whole idea of NATO, of an Article 5 provision, is that an attack on one is considered an attack on all. You're from Lithuania, a country that is right on the front line. Is there a confidence in Europe that if the worst comes to the worst and the Russians do stage something in the Baltics, that America would come? I mean, I've talked to a lot of people who are not confident at all that America under Trump would actually step up and fulfill its Article 5 obligations.
Well, first of all, of course, statements about occupying Greenland were totally unacceptable. And the European Union was 100% united, standing together with Denmark. And maybe that also helped, the White House administration to, at the end, to come to more appropriate, discussions about how to use existing treaties in between of US and Denmark on strengthening security in Greenland. So that is one thing. Second, definitely, we can see from different opinion polls that really European people, Europeans, they are more and more looking into European Union as preferable provider of security for them and for their country. That is related maybe with with such as development that their trust in American administration, in American security guarantees, is a little bit losing this opinion which was traditionally very high. Well, that's what maybe also our American friends are starting to understand, because I hope that during this Munich Security Conference, both State Secretary and other American participants will speak in a more strategic way about the value of transatlantic relationship, about the need to strengthen our NATO organization, which can be done through European strengthening its own pillar in NATO. So those are things which are very important, which are quite dynamic. I cannot predict, what American administration will do during forthcoming period of time, but I know at least what I read in the national defense strategy and national security strategy, that really it's time for us to take responsibility on European security on our shoulders, and that we need to see as something which will strengthen NATO and strengthen our transatlantic relations.
Now, when the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte was talking to the European Parliament a few weeks ago, he was pretty categorical that Europe, there's no immediate prospect for Europe to stand alone on defense, that it needs the United States. I think his thing was, you're dreaming if you think that this will happen. He was talking about Europe needing to spend 10% of GDP on defense if it's to replace America. First of all, how realistic do you think Rutte's assessment is? And when you look at Europe's defense capabilities, do you see huge gaps that Europe would need to fill if it's to be able to step up or replace core things that America brings to NATO?
Well, when I read Mark Rutte statement, in Parliament, I looked through, what we can call stenogram, of that conversation. I understood his message a little bit different than is described in all let's say public media, because my understanding was that he was speaking about nuclear defense. So, and that is where we need really to be very precise in our statements, and maybe also what Mark Rutte was saying, it could be more precise, in that explanation, because definitely, what we expect from our transatlantic partners and what they promised, that they will continue to take care about nuclear umbrella. That's very important for us. But when we're talking about conventional defense, really that is what Americans are asking from us, and that is what we need to do to develop our own conventional defense capabilities, and that is really achievable. And that is not what should be demanding from us 10% of GDP. If we would include nuclear defense, then really I would agree with Mark Rutte. But when we're talking about conventional, we see what we need to do. We are really very heavily dependent on American strategic enablers, starting from everything related with space for defense, intelligence data, secure satellite communication, other things, and then some more, practical things like heavy airlift capabilities, air refueling capabilities, all those VAC systems, C2 systems, which is, well, it of course it will cost. It's not cheap things, but really those things are available. You can produce, you can procure, and that is what we need to do. Besides that, of course, there are additionally, besides really material side, is also the issue of American troops, 80,000 and 100,000 on the European continent, which some experts are saying that they are playing very, very crucial role being what is called by experts backbone military force. It means standing professional, army with all the enablers, and which can play a role of what we can call a rapid reaction force inside of Europe. I mean, moving from one region to another region very quickly. The question is, if Americans are really diminishing and also that part of their resources, then how we are replacing. And here, really, we need to have proper understanding. Can we do that with a collection of 27 armies, and there, parts of them, through some kind of joint exercises and so on? Again, experts are saying that it will not create such a quality of rapid reaction force what Americans are providing. But those are, how to say, those are issues which demands from our side good, expertise. It demands financial resources, but also decision-making, and it's possible to do.
Now, you've talked about a potential European army. Kaja Kallas has been pretty emphatic that does not make any sense and that there should be no European army, that we should stick with the 27 national militaries. What's the debate like in the Commission and in general in Europe? Is that a realistic prospect at all?
Well, first of all, again, it's a little bit maybe the beginning of the discussion, which I consider is very important. And it's for member states to decide. Commission here is just, facilitator of the discussion. And I'm trying to do my part of that discussion, raising those issues, and saying that we need to discuss. And at the beginning of discussion, really, we need again clarity about what we are talking about, because this title of European Army has some kind of historical legacy, and sometimes it's misleading, because European Army as such terminology in Europe appeared, back in 1950s, when there was an attempt to create this European defense community, supported by Jean Monnet, by Adenauer, by Pleven Plan, and so on. Then it failed, and in that plan, European army was considered as a single army in Europe without national armies. I mean, European army was replacing national armies. So I will not go into that historical context why it was such a proposal. At the end, French Parliament voted against, but this terminology of European army still is somewhere here. What I am saying, I'm not speaking about the same European army as it was back in 1950s. If somebody would ask me, do you want to create such an European army as in 1950s, abandoning national armies, I would say that I would be quite skeptical, at least at this moment. What we are talking about rapid reaction force of 100,000, 80,000, capability, which should replace American force, which now is existing. So that's why I started to use much more of this, terminology, rapid reaction force, in order not to make this, misleading connection with European army. So and this, and rapid reaction force means that it exists in, in combination with existing national armies. It does not replace national armies.
And just a final question on this issue. The big problem with some sort of coordinated Europe-wide effort on this is that you then have to get buy-in every time you want to use such a force from all of the countries that have contributed forces to it. Does that make it simply impossible to ever realistically use such a force were it ever to arise?
Well, definitely, in the issues related with defense and security, we need to see, that issue also what I call institutional defense readiness. How we are making ourselves stronger and able to make decisions related with very important topics. And that's why also I raise a question about, can we come back to the idea which was 10 years ago, first time raised by Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel, on so-called European Security Council, which would, allow to have smaller but very, authoritative decision-making body, consisting of, first of all, maybe of 5 or 6 big countries. Like now they are gathering in this E5 plus formats. Then with United Kingdom, if broader discussions would be going about European defense, also some rotational smaller members, also Commission and Council presidents. That would allow us, first of all, to have proper discussions about those most important issues. And second, if we would be able to look also into possibilities that such kind of body would have a decision-making power, maybe that would be the answer to what you were asking about. How we shall manage the whole defense, European defense capabilities being much more united.
Now, the Commission is playing a big role on the financial side of trying to organize joint procurements, the 150 billion euro SAFE mechanism, which is working its way through right now. This has arisen as a political issue in Poland, where you have the president and some of his supporters questioning whether the SAFE money comes with rule of law provisions, which could bind a future Polish government. And there's apparently similar worries in Hungary that if Hungary violates rule of law provisions, that it will not get the SAFE money that it's asked for. So is that in fact a thing?
Well, rule of law is nothing, what can be called temporarily. It's European Union constitutional, value, or treaty value, and definitely, all the countries should behave in such a way that nobody would have any kind of, questions about rule of law. I do not see in Poland any problems, with today's political developments, political coalition on rule of law. I don't know local debate. For us, everything is decided from our side. As Commission, we approved the investment plan. Now the Council needs to approve. Council will have 4 weeks or something like that. And then we need to have a bilateral agreement with Poland on the investment and all the procedures, how we shall go. I don't know exactly what is on Polish side. What are the procedures? Do they need to have ratification of this treaty on the loan in between of European Union and Poland? Maybe, but well, till now Poland was showing very strong strategic interest to use that very attractive possibility of safe loans, which was oversubscribed by member states. 19 member states asked more than we were offering, 150 billion euros. And Poland was among those showing the biggest interest with very clear strategic plans. So I don't know what's, how these domestic political developments will go on. We approved now 16 plans out from 19. Still we have 3 countries where we are continuing our dialogue with them. As with all others, it's France, Czech Republic, and Hungary. But this is a normal procedure, which usually when European Union is giving such kind of financial possibilities, financial loans, is always implemented.
And Ursula von der Leyen a while ago was talking about a potential SAFE 2. Is something like that being worked on? And do you have any, if that is, do you have any sort of amount in mind that would encompass?
Well, I think that she spoke exactly during Politico gala dinner,
Exactly.
We read that, report with a lot of interest, that she said that, well, it's a big interest and she has somewhere in the corridors, about the need of Politico, of SAFE 2.0. I would say Politico should organize another gala dinner now to get, maybe more precise answers. But definitely, more seriously, we saw that big interest among member states. I think that interest is still present. Now we are busy with final stages of implementation of safe loans. Money should start to reach member states in April. We are working very heavily with industries, trying to convince them to move ahead also with much more rapid increase of their production capacities. This is our now priority because what we see is that bigger money is coming, but production is rising a little bit slower. Then the prices can start to increase, waiting lines are increasing. Ministers now, we have this, very fresh experience, and we had Defense Ministers' Council, and everybody around the table was speaking about that problem. That the prices in the contracts are increasing, that waiting lines are really very big. So this is our one of the concerns, but definitely, really, if there will be agreements among member states that there is a need of additional safe loan proves that this is very, very effective and powerful instrument. And I would not be, I would see really, for example, if Safe 2.0 would be idea developed, for example, to target it exactly to strategic enablers, that would be really very good, step forward.
Super. We have run out of time, and thank you very much for helping us launch our Politico pub by coming down. Thanks again.
My pleasure. Okay.
Thank you.